So I experimented with my hair and it's gone a little bit 1983, but let's work with it. Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk about my favourite reads of this year. There's quite a mixed bag here, a range of genres, but I'm going to go through them in no particular order. And the first one that I've got that I absolutely loved this year is not a book that is from this year, it is not a new book, but this year I read The Secret Garden for the first time, and I picked up this absolutely gorgeous edition of this book. And this is obviously a classic, and it's a children's classic. But if you don't know, it's about a girl called Mary. She lives in India with her very rich parents, and unfortunately her parents meet a very early demise, and she ends up having to move to the UK, to the Yorkshire moors, in order to sort of live with her new guardians. And it's about Mary's sort of humbling, and I love it. I really enjoyed this book, and I read it with my daughter and I thought it was fantastic. And I love the journey of Mary and watching her go from being a very spoiled brat to sort of learning to be more mellow. And this book in particular is fantastic. It has so many beautiful illustrations inside of it when I find them. It's got pull-out bits. I mean, this one is a map of the house and grounds, and it's got loads of little extra bits in it, and it just makes for a very interesting and exciting reading experience, especially when you're introducing classics to a small child. I found these illustrations and things like that really helped to sort of enjoy the story more. The next book that I absolutely loved and adored is this one. This is The Catch by T.M. Logan. I was sent this for review and it came out in June 2020, so it came out in the summer. And I thought this was such a fantastic premise. This is about a dad who really loves his daughter, and his daughter is grown up now, and she is embarking upon a relationship with a man that the dad just has feelings about. He doesn't like him. Everyone else just absolutely adores this daughter's boyfriend, and everyone seems to think that the dad is being a bit ridiculous, and that the dad is a bit problematic, really, if we're honest. However, when his daughter announces that she's marrying this man that he really doesn't like, he takes matters into his own hand, and even though he is risking losing his family in this pursuit of knowledge about his daughter's new fiance, he just can't help himself. He just has to go there. And I love the journey of this. This is the epitome of the twisty-turny thriller, because you start off pretty sure you're going to know how it's ending, and then you just are thrown everywhere. You start to get different ideas, and everything is just up in the air right until the very last page, and I loved it. Cannot recommend this book enough. The next book that I read and loved is a little controversial, and I'm sure we all know by now that I'm no stranger to a bit of controversy now and then, but I love this book, and it's this one. This is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is an add-on to the Hunger Games trilogy. However, it's written before the Hunger Games that we know happened, and I love this. I've seen so many people hate this or love it. It seems to be very much one way or the other, and I love the Hunger Games series. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, one of my best series I've ever read, and so I was very excited when this came out, and then I saw a lot of really negative reviews and it put me off a little, and I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it, and I'm glad that I did because I loved it. It follows a look as to how the Hunger Games became the Hunger Games that we know now in the time of Katniss Everdeen that we are all aware of. This is a book that looks at the very early days of the Hunger Games and how different things were to what they are in the book that we all know as the Hunger Games, and it chronicles the journey as to how they got there. And I don't really want to say too much because I don't want to give it away, because we have some character reveals here, and it's such an interesting growth to watch, and it really gives a background to some of the characters in the later Hunger Games, and I absolutely adored it. I thought this was brilliant, and I love being back in the Hunger Games world. It's one of my absolute favourite worlds to dip into, and so I couldn't wait to get back there, and I'm so glad that I gave this a try, because I know a lot of people don't love it, but for me, 5 stars. My fourth favourite book of this year is this one. This is My Dark Vanessa, and this was all over BookTube and Bookstagram when it first came out, probably because the cover of it is absolutely stunning. I really love the design on this, and the red hair that is on the front obviously plays a huge part within the story, and this follows the story of Vanessa, who years and years after graduating from school and living her life, I think she's in her 30s now, she hears a rumour that a teacher from her school has been accused of basically molesting a young pupil, and it makes her open her eyes to her own experiences in school with this teacher and what she assumed was her great sexual awakening. She has to look back and wonder, was it actually what she thinks it is, or has she been groomed to think that way? And this story is dark. If you find any sort of sexual assault triggering, this will not be the book for you, because this book goes there and it really puts you into the headspace of Vanessa as things are happening to her. And it's not a spoiler because that's what the whole book is about. So you know there is going to be some talk about what happened to Vanessa when she was a teenager with this teacher, because it's in the blurb. That's the story. It's not a spoiler. And it's not a book that you can sit down and feel like you've really enjoyed, but it's a book that I think is extremely important. And it is not a one to read if you're in a bad headspace. It is grim. It's so dark, and it left me feeling quite sick and disturbed at times, but I also thought the writing style was fantastic, and the way we look into the character of Vanessa I found extremely interesting, because for me Vanessa was not the most likable character, and I like it when writers will do that, because a lot of the time if a writer is going to want to portray a victim of a certain situation, they'll make that victim absolutely angelic. That victim will be a person who's never put a foot wrong in their life, and so this thing that's happened to them, it's very obvious that this person has been through an ordeal. Whereas my Dark Vanessa doesn't do that. Vanessa is a character that's extremely flawed. I would say she's rather unlikable. She's sort of bratty in the way that she behaves, and so she steps outside that typical victim. And I love how Kate Elizabeth Russell does not shy away from that sort of character, because it goes back to a very important bugbear of mine, that victims don't have to act like a traditional victim. There's no sort of victim profile. If a person has had something awful happen to them, it doesn't matter how they behave or how they've behaved afterwards or how they behaved at the time. It doesn't change facts. And this book, as I say, was brilliant. The portrayal of such a harrowing event on someone's life and how it has affected Vanessa all through her life without even realising that it has. This I can't recommend enough if you're in the right headspace to read it. And the final book, which could arguably be the best book that I read this year, it is this one. This is The Chain by Adrian McKinty, and I didn't pick this up myself. It was given to me by my husband, and on hearing the premise, I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it, but I went in there and I decided that I was going to give it a go anyway. And the reason that I thought I might not enjoy this is because it involves children, and you know by now that I find anything to do with children being harmed a massive trigger. I don't like it at all. It usually will make me DNF a book, but I decided to give it a go, and I'm so glad I did. So basically the premise says, your phone rings, a stranger has kidnapped your child. To free them, you must abduct someone else's child, and your child will be released when the victim's parents kidnap another child. If any of these things don't happen, your child will be killed. So I read that and thought, this is going to be a bit grim. This is not going to be... I'm not going to find this to be a thriller at all. I'm not going to be thrilled by this. I'm going to be appalled and horrified. But I thought, give it a go. Give it a go. So I did. And it was so good. It was a massive page turner. I was at one point sat on my kitchen table trying to make the children's breakfasts whilst flicking through this, trying to stir things, you know. I was just desperate to find out what had happened. I haven't read a book that has had me page turning so frantically in a long time, and that is why The Chain really gripped me. And it is a book of two halves. It's very differently told. The first part of the book is from the victim's point of view, and the second part of the book is from the kidnapper point of view, and it just made for an interesting and explosive read, and I just loved the development of this. There was no triggering or anything like that. It was actually very well done, and I love this. I think it would make a fantastic movie, and I have to say, I think this is my favourite read of the year. Don't know if you can hear that, but my husband's just put the popcorn machine on downstairs, and the squeals of very excited children because they're about to do popcorn in a movie while I edit this. So if you can hear noises, I don't know if you can. That's what it is. This was absolutely amazing. I'd love to know what you read this year and what your favourite reads were of the year, and if you've read any of the ones that I mentioned, and if you have, let me know what you thought of them. And I'll speak to you all soon. I hope you've all had a brilliant Christmas, and I'm wishing you all a very fantastic new year. So bye for now.